The joint session 2 is focused on emergency medical care, need for new law. I'm going to read out some of the themes that are salient features for the discussion for the next 45 minutes. Since the Supreme Court's direction in the case of Parmanand Katara versus Union of India in 1989, doctors and hospitals are bound to provide medical facilities to patients in need of emergency care. But many aspects of this care, emergency care, are unidentified, undefined, and unregulated. The Clinical Establishment Act has provisions in this regard, but they seem to be insufficient, and the applicability of this Act across the country is another issue. The Gujarat Emergency Medical Services Act 2007 and the Entala Act US are two laws from which inspiration can be drawn. A law in place defining the responsibilities of the doctors will only help the patients in need of emergency care. Ladies and gentlemen, we start joint session 2, and I have the privilege to invite Dr. Imran Subhan from Hyderabad, Head of Emergency at the Apollo Hyderabad Hospital, Secretary for Society of Emergency Medicine in India, SEMI, national body, Dr. Imran Subhan. And I also have the privilege of inviting on stage the guest speaker, Dr. Ajay Singh. Dr. Ajay Singh is from Solan, Himachal Pradesh, works with the government and is instrumental in drafting a law for emergency care in Himachal Pradesh, which as of now, I will not use Advocate Bajpayee's words, but as of now has not seen the light of day, sir. Kabhi na kabhi aayega, sir. So may I please invite Dr. Imran Subhan to give his keynote address. Technical difficulty.
Yeah, technical help, please.
Can you
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you. My name is Dr. Imran. I'm the General Secretary for the Society for Emergency Medicine in India and also the consultant at Apollo Hospitals, Hyderabad in the Department of Emergency Medicine. I'm very happy that there is a big community right now which is looking at emergency medical care. It is very, very suboptimal in India. Having seen, you have to see emergency medicine right from the point of accident or when the illness happens. That can happen at home or on the road. So pre-hospital care inside the emergency room, inside the hospitals, and continuation of that care in the specialty units and the ICUs is a single pathway. You cannot focus on one area, because if you do not focus on the other areas, then there is no use of emergency care. You have to see it as a whole, develop it as a whole, look at all the processes which are present in all these areas so that the entire pathway improves. Only this way we can improve the emergency care very, very quickly. You can imagine if a heart attack happens on the road or in a garden, you have to take care from that point onwards till the cath lab, post-cath lab into the recovery. So all the hospitals have to see it as a single pathway. Now, one of the first steps is when a citizen is an emergency, he has to call a particular number. Earlier, we had all the hospitals which had the numbers available. 100 was there, 102 was there as an ambulance. Each hospital has its own number. Each government hospital has its own number. And now we have private hospitals which broadcast their own numbers. And one of the important steps which happened over the last decade, that India has a number 108 which is similar to 911, which started getting adopted in a lot of states, but it is still not uniform. It is the largest professional emergency service provider. They have executed it very well. If you go to villages, towns, you will have an ambulance come. Even if it is late by about half an hour, it will come, it will take you to the nearest hospital that is there. This was not there, and this is one of the important steps which happened because of the GVK EMRI's public-private partnerships. There are two acts which clearly define some things related to emergency. The first one is the Motor Vehicles Act, which says what a person who is present on site will do and what the doctors in the hospitals will do. And this is very simple. It is very generalized statement. There is no proper definition of what this, how the emergency care should be delivered. It can be interpreted in any ways by anyone. The second one is the Clinical Establishment Act, which applies. Again, the Clinical Establishment Act, as per my knowledge, is not uniformly adopted. Again, emergency care is defined in this. It is not detailed. It can be interpreted in any way possible. There is a Gujarat Emergency Medical Services Act which came in 2007. This was a very important thing which that state did. This act particularly defines the responsibilities of a medical director who is running the EMS system, the functions of various councils, the base hospitals, what they do, how they take care of an emergency, the requirements for ambulances, whether it's a basic life support, advanced life support, the regulation of emergency services, and also defines the violations and penalties which are there for violating emergency care law. Now, this is the closest we have come
Dr.
to a
Imran,
very, very good...
I'm just going to interrupt you for a minute. My apologies. May I please invite Advocate Preetham Vora on stage? Advocate Preetham Vora, please. My apologies, Advocate Preetham Vora. I hope I will be pardoned for this faux pas. Thank you, Advocate Vora.
Sure. So this is the closest, the Gujarat State Act is the closest we have got to a good act, but it is isolated to some hospitals in that state and it's isolated only to Gujarat state. The other states have not adopted this kind of a law. Now, in July 2010, the doctors of the emergency medicine community were celebrated because the Medical Council recognized emergency medicine as a 31st post-MBBS specialty. This was a very, very good thing which happened, which said the first steps that there is a doctor who specializes in emergency medicine and will take care of emergency medicine. So last year's statistics, not this year. This is the last year statistics of the different seats which are there. Emergency medicine started its numbers and right now it's double that number and it's increasing faster and faster. You have people who are specialized in emergency medical care. This is on the education side. The government is doing, whereas governments have changed, each person says a certain budget is allocated for emergency care. So certain budget is allocated for emergency care. Insurance is coming for emergency care. Again, these are just coming into the media. Nothing concrete has happened out of it. 2 years back in July 2013, another national body recognized emergency medicine education, which was the Diplomat National Board of Examinations, which creates the DNB seats in the corporate hospitals and other private hospitals. This is last year's statistics. It was 0. Right now it is about 180 seats. So again, the education of doctors, postgraduate qualified doctors in emergency medicine is increasing in number. Other organizations like IndusCM have started the nursing training and the paramedic training also. So the manpower is slowly increasing under different bodies. The standards of care inside the emergency room and hospitals is being defined right now, today, by the national NABH. And they are looking closely at the emergency care standards. And it's a very, very important step on how patients will be taken care inside the hospitals by the various emergency departments. I'm sure they'll come out in the next few weeks, maybe a couple of months, but this is one of the important steps to define the clinical care of standards. Now, some questions were coming in on who will take care, who will bear the cost for poor people. And the best example is there is a Arogyashri scheme which is applicable in Andhra Pradesh state. This has been there for many years. If it was bad, it would have closed down by now. It's been there for many years. It allows a person below poverty line to access the health care in an emergency, which is at level of Apollo hospitals or any other big hospital. The government pays this fixed price for the various treatment, but I think the center and whichever community is trying to look at improving emergency care must look at this law very, very closely before so that it can be implemented in other places. Because it is working for so many years, despite change in government, it means it is successful. So there should be somebody who should see this, how this works, and try to implement it across India. Overall, our emergency care or emergency medical care in our country is completely fragmented. Different people are going in their own directions. Nobody is governing them. Each person is improving in his own territory, and it is completely decentralized. It is not going to go anywhere. That is why somebody should take care of emergency services. This is not the same in USA or UK or any other Western country where a person in an emergency is guaranteed that somebody will take care of him irrespective of paying capacity, irrespective of whether an attender or consent is taken. Why can't we get this in India? Because it is not happening. This is what we are supposed to aim for. The EMTALA Act, which is there, clearly defines, this works in US. Now we had a debate on the third floor today on whether EMTALA Act can be implemented or not. We found out that certain sections of it can be applied, but it is a start. We have to start thinking of this, which is a very, very strict act, but India is a big country, lot of diversity, and we have to implement it there. The other problem is the violence in the emergency room. Enough doctors have got assaulted, enough nurses have got assaulted, hospitals have lost a lot of equipment and property damage just for mob violence. And something has to be done about it. And again, this was discussed today, the law to prevent violence in emergency room. We know that there is a law which is specifically addresses this issue, but it is not known. The police do not know about it. The legal experts who are supposed to deal with at that point do not know about this. Citizens do not know about this. So we are supposed to highlight this problem here. In other countries, the punishment is very, very strict whenever you violate, if you assault any emergency staff. In Queensland, it is almost 14 years that they will put you in behind bars if you assault anybody from the emergency department. The third point which we looked at is to protect the citizens who help in emergencies. Nobody helps. This I have also seen personally when I drive on highways. When an accident occurs, nobody comes to take care of a patient simply because they are afraid that once they get involved, they will get involved in the case as a witness and they'll get harassed over years. So something should be done to make sure they are protected and they are not harassed so that citizens are more forthcoming in helping during emergencies. Because in an accident or any emergency, citizens are the first responders who will always be present. So overall, we don't have any central authority. Emergency medicine is a big process. There are a lot of people involved in improving emergency care. They have to be looked as whole. You cannot say, I will improve ambulances or I will improve the doctors or I will improve the hospitals. You have to look at everything together. We are a very, very complex system of care. It is not the doctor who delivers emergency medicine. It is a team of doctors. It is the hospitals, specialty services which support it, the blood banks, the ambulance system, the calls which you get, the call center. Everybody is involved. The availability, uniformity and affordability of emergency care is completely varied across India from north to south. We have to be inclusive of everything. And there is no monitoring of shortcomings. When somebody dies because of mismanagement, it will only come if somebody puts a case. Otherwise, there is no measurement. There is no governmental body which is actually measuring what happens when you don't deliver emergency care. And non-healthcare personnel like police, fire, they do have a role. The police are one of the first people who come during emergencies. And they have a very, very important role. So if there is a new law which we decide to put, it has to be inclusive of all these groups which are present. You have to look at all of them and then only create the new law. You cannot apply it to one area or one territory of people and not just for the hospitals. So way forward is obviously the development of specialty of emergency medicine. My MCI is doing that, DNB is doing that, various societies are doing. The hospitals themselves are improving emergency care. You can see in different cities, emergency care is automatically improving because they are just doing it. 108 number is spreading fast. There are proposals to start another emergency number which is there. But again, access to care is available to us. Only thing, the law which is similar to EMTALA has not come yet, but that is being debated, and our community today in this hall need to say whether we can implement that or not. And health insurance must cover every individual, without which medical care is very, very expensive. You have to find ways to make sure they are completely insured. And a new law is the need of the hour. I think it's a long journey, but if we start right now, we will ensure that it reaches that point. So thank you. Any suggestions are obviously moderated and helpful.
Thank you very much, Dr. Imran. Thank you very much. Kindly be seated, sir. May I now request Dr. Ajay Singh to kindly comment on the topic on hand.
Namaste and thank you. Rightly said by my colleague fellow, emergency services do need attention at this juncture. I come from very small state, Himachal Pradesh, working in government setup. The scenario is a bit different. In latest review report from Health Mission, 82% of population of my state is being catered by public sector. And in public sector, the hierarchy, beautiful hierarchy we have inherited from PHC level to CHC, then to civil hospital, then to referral hospital, eventually up to secondary district level hospitals, landing up in tertiary care, state level hospitals. The whole scenario is different because across all this hierarchy, emergency may be defined in various perspectives and in various definitions. Per se, a simple PHC having no facilities as far as laboratory or X-ray radiology may deal with a case called X, which is an event in law, and that may not be an emergency if it was being dealt at level of district hospital of some tertiary hospital. So sensitization across all these levels, definition of emergencies, defining line set of emergencies, defining standard SOPs for all these emergencies, and then definitely roping in other departments which we always call intersectoral coordination. As rightly said, it is police, it is administration, it is department dealing with road and safety who have to be working hand in hand, but all the times it is doctor and the managerial doctor of his or her institute blamed for mismanagement of emergency. Here we talk of a law which should be strictly and stringently enforced. First of all, the definition of all those emergencies across various hierarchies of health systems working in private and public sector has to be addressed in the law itself by definitely incorporating views from fraternity of doctors representing many associations. What we lack is a big association like Indian Medical Services, which was a dream far back. We have a very rich heritage of medical services like which existed in Madras Medical Services, Bengal Medical Services, and we never got up to that very big, huge platform of getting together under one associated Indian Medical Services or something like that, which might have advocated, which might have taken us to be the technocrats to deal with all these, not only emergencies we would talk about, all these coming health issues to be addressed by our fraternity, first of all itself. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And once again, with apologies, I'd like to introduce Advocate Preetham Vora, who hails from Baramati in Maharashtra. He's a medical legal consultant for the past 13 plus years in consumer and critical laws. He is also a doctor and an advocate. Advocate Preetham Vora, over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. And not much to say about this because much of the things have been discussed by Dr. Imran and Dr. Ajay Singh. But some few points which I want to highlight on legal side is basically Gujarat Emergency Medical Services Act 2007 has been enacted by Gujarat state according to the need of that state. So what I think, every state should come out with same type of act according to their need. That is basically, that is very much important. What are the facilities in your state, what the state government can give. According to that, they can enact the act for emergency medical services. Secondly, Medical Council of India, Indian Medical Associations, and like other all associations which are related with emergency medical services, all should come collectively, come out with good suggestions, and collectively they should suggest the government to come out with the suggestions which you give and come out with the act which is useful for the benefits of the patient. Patient priority first, and secondly for the medical fraternity. Patient priority first because the patient's life is important in the sense of doctors also and in the sense of government also. And in the medical fraternity because we have a good debate before that for the compensation. Exactly. So the doctor should also not be in the loss while treating the patient. So that should be also considered while making the acts. Already Supreme Court has given judgments in many cases about treating the patients in emergency cases or emergency treatment given to the patients, victims, trauma victims, accident cases and all that. Considering that judgment, or points taken to be in consideration given in the judgment by the Supreme Court, we should, or all the associations related with this should come out with good suggestions, and then they can put forth it to their state government, or either or they can straight away go to the central government and put forth in the front of central government to come out with a uniform act throughout India. Or second, one thing we can do, Clinical Establishment Act is already there. Many of the states have not enacted it or implemented it, but we can add Emergency Services Act, or already it is having provisions. Clinical Establishment Act is having provisions for emergency medical services. Rather than coming with a new Emergency Medical Services Act, we can include it in the Clinical Establishment Act, and we can consider it also part of Clinical Establishment Act. So basically, what the important thing is, the suggestions which are given by the associations, the need of the patient, need of the hour, and need of the medical fraternity, everybody should be benefited in all senses. This is very important, and that is the basic thing. Other things, the medical part have been told by Dr. Imran sir and Dr. Ajay Singh, that all should be considered while making the suggestions. So collectively the suggestions which will be made are very important, because what happens at the tertiary level or at the root level, those who are working in the emergency department, casualty departments, what the problems they face, they should be considered while giving the suggestions. Because many of times I get a call from the casualty, "Arey sir, the papers have been, the emergency patient's paper have been taken away by the relatives, what to do?" This is real fact. Many a times phone comes, or many times what they tell, patient is brought dead and they are making very havoc. What to do? Means all these, the problems which are coming at the tertiary level or at the casualty level should be taken into consideration, and then suggestions should be made. On legal side, as you suggest and you go to the government or you suggest to the government, they will come out with the same type of act which will be needed for the medical fraternity and the patients. Nothing more to say. Thank you everybody. Thank you the organizers for giving me a chance to come for the convention, and very good convention. I think this should go on part in part every year, every 2 yearly, so that patients' benefit will be benefited, plus doctor fraternity will also be benefited. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to invite, there are quite a few number of people who were supposed to speak here, and I'm going to give them one minute when they're on the floor. They need not come up here. But as of now, I'm going to yield the floor to Dr. T.S. Srinath Kumar in his special capacity as President of the Society for Emergency Medicine of India. I think this is exactly what the country needs, where specialty associations are given an opportunity on such platforms to speak about their specialty. Dr. Srinath Kumar, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Already my colleague, my secretary, Dr. Imran Subhan, has spoken many things about having the emergency care in our country. So regarding this, we had a deliberate discussions in the morning between 10 to 1 o'clock. So what were the decisions and what were the things which were being proposed to this national convention is, regarding the EMTALA, it should be applied to some hospitals where it is designated to take care of the emergency medicine care, where the emergency patients are available and the hospital is able to provide the care which is required at that particular moment. And reimbursement of care is the must. Law to protect violence. There is a common law which should be enacted by the central government, and all of us are aware that there is a Good Samaritan law and other laws, but when they go to the police, it's not been happening. So we have to create more and more awareness regarding this one, and create more platforms like this to create the awareness among the police and the judiciary. And next is the censoring of the films, which is anti-hospital and anti-doctors. This affects especially the care of the patient, not for the doctors especially, because finally who is going to be getting affected is the patients. So the censor boards should be more careful when the movies which are being given should be more favorable. And law on EMS and ambulance services. But there is no, this one, about reimbursement. It has not been outlined, so it should be overlooked upon how it can be done. And then what my colleague said about the Andhra Pradesh government, which is bringing out, which is already doing with the Arogyasri scheme. The same schemes is available in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka also. So the same scheme should be looked into the whole country and should be taken in. That's what we would request. and the central government to make mandate for all emergency medical insurance under the insurance scheme, at least the emergency services should be brought in. And there was one more debate on the do not resuscitate. So that one, our colleagues, the intensive colleagues have brought out some guidelines, so which should also be followed, but it should be on a case-to-case basis because it cannot be on the overall rule. And the legal validity of emergency doctors performing outside their skill expertise, because a lot of things has been brought out in the Supreme Court saying that you cannot practice this and you cannot practice this. But in an emergency situation, they have not defined what a doctor can perform. So when it is taken to the court of law, we don't know what it is. So regarding that, we should have a framework and what are the things we have to. And broad death decision, which was rightly mentioned. So there was a deliberate discussion on this part also. So what we would like to suggest is, like in Mumbai, the coronary is there. Or in the same way, in the states, they should have a state representative by either the judicial system or the police. So who can be in liability with the doctors so that they can give the certification. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. I'm going to ask Dr. Gokul Sridharan to speak now. Can we have the mic going over to Dr. Gokul Sridharan, please? Dr. Sridharan, can you please introduce yourself, your background, and then please...
Yeah, I'm Dr. Gokul Sridharan. I'm an oral pathologist from dentistry working in Navi Mumbai. My basic idea about emergency medical care is there is some amount of lack in medical care institution primarily because of lack of expertise at the basic level. Undergrad MBBS or undergrad dental, they are not very well trained or at least to understand how emergency medical care is required. Primarily because not every patient is at the immediate possibility to go enter into a tertiary setup. They may initially have to go to a setup which is of a lower grade, and when you enter into the hospital, there is a possibility of the treating physician or the treating dentist unable to understand the idea behind it, both medically as well as legally. Most of the doctors, they are worried about the repercussions that may come when they treat an medical care which is an emergency basis. Primarily because most of the patients who are on emergency basis are critically ill with an equal chance of survival or death. So at the time of death, the amount of negative impact that they get from the police, from the legal issues, as well as from the public, is going to affect them in the long run. So basically, I suggest is that there should be some kind of a curriculum where the undergraduate level is also being given basic training, both medical as well as legal issues, so that they know how to manage it. And secondly, also the way of documentation, because many a times emergency medical care does not have the documentation required to be produced in front of the court. So consent as well as the maintenance of record is an issue. And finally, because of the cost factor, because we don't know whether the patient is going to be afford or not afford the treatment. So it's always possible that there'll be a kind of an insurance scheme where any hospital, even a corporate hospital for that matter, can offload part of its expenses based upon the
all right. They get. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sridharan. I'm going to open up the floor, and I would request you to specifically focus your insights on to the emergency medicine law and what this as an august body would like to contribute towards that. As we discussed when we opened the conversation, is that all of us agree that we don't have issues with treating emergencies. After all, that's what doctors are all here about. I think, but there is a definite piece of us which mandates us also to look at compensation, to look at professional fees, to look at reimbursements and all of that. Because everything today is becoming expensive, diagnostics are becoming expensive, somebody needs to pay for all this. So I'd like to open up the floor, I'd like to hear from you. One of the things possible is the creation of a new act. Another possibility is the creation of a adjunct act or a fortification of the Clinical Establishment Act. Again, we have a session after this on the Clinical Establishment Act, so we can discuss that further there. But the floor is open, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Dr. Kataria. Okay, we'll hear the gentleman behind and then we'll come back to you, sir.
I think many of the things have been told. We doctors are ready to help emergency patient, but we should have a right to refuse also. I am a trauma surgeon, but since we have discussed in the last also, I can't do a delivery. So if an emergency patient comes, the court should not force me that every emergency patient should be attended by every doctor. If I think I'm not capable of managing this case, I should
Point
have a
taken.
right to refuse
I
it.
think this is something that is going through a common thread. We spoke about acid burns victims. We
Yeah,
spoke
I think
about,
this
we're
is-
now talking about trauma. And everywhere the common thread that is emerging is one of continuing privileges with respect to the particular specialities. And we agree that it is up to the respective professional bodies in conjunction with the Indian Medical Association and the Medical Council of India and the local medical councils to come together to create some sort of a process wherein privileging is there, and that people actually, if you're expected to deliver a baby in an emergency room because you're taking OBGYN as a specialty, you should be currently privileged to do that. Believe me, that's a tall order that requires a 5-day convention of all professional bodies in the country, which is not going to happen easily. But agreed, accepted point. Yes, Dr. Kataria here, please, or in the second row, third row.
I have a suggestion here. We all talking about insurance for treatment of patient who are who come in for emergency care. Especially this is most related to road traffic accidents. If by any chance we could have some modality or a provision in the motor vehicle insurances, and the insurance companies which has insured the vehicles pay up to 2 days of medical treatment for patient from wherever they are meet with an accident, they are taken to the nearest medical facility, which if they have the facility to treat that kind of a patient, be covered under those by the insurance companies.
Excellent suggestion. Because the thing is, as of today, our cars are better taken care of than we are. Okay?
I think you talked about a common thread that different specialties, super specialties, subspecialties. But I still believe the MBBS is a basic degree. I think in general we are better than even if a police force or even the bystander who will give some kind of a treatment, a doctor stands as a better, be it a delivery or acid attack or whichever it may be. Doctor has at least the basic understanding. You may not be giving the super specialist or specialist treatment, but there is no harm in attending.
I'm going to take this point and I'm going to turn it over to our advocate friends. Let's say that in an emergency, an MBBS doctor under Good Samaritan, Kataria versus Union of India, etc., does actually attempt a delivery and the baby dies. What is going to be the court's outlook on this in terms of the skill set required and the ongoing... is that going to be acceptable? Accepted. Now I'd like to turn back to our doctors. I have a very eminent obstetrician and gynecologist here, Dr. Gupte. He has been past president of FOXI. How does FOXI as a professional body look onto this in an emergency, sir?
Yeah. See, rather than turning that patient who is fully dilated with the head on the perineum and letting her deliver on the road, any doctor who is available should be delivering that patient no matter which specialty it is, and I think quite rightly said he will be protected if something goes wrong.
We have consensus then. Fine. Yes, Dr. Utture.
I think the important word is the emergency.
Exactly.
That means it has to be life-threatening either for the baby or for the mother. In that circumstances, yes, you are allowed to do it. But in any other circumstances, if that specialty treatment is available in anywhere in your neighborhood, you are not supposed to do it, even as per the MCA. Yeah. No, unless it's an emergency. Sir, Supreme Courts have given judgment against that. We may not be restricting it.
Nowhere it is restricted. An MBBS doctor can give all the treatment that is taught during the MBBS and except in case of a hand injury.
Okay.
It is not
Anil
like
Kumarji,
that.
I will come back to you.
So there is a Supreme Court judgment where an orthopedic surgeon for opening the chest has been liable because he was said that you should have taken the help of a CVTS surgeon or a thoracic surgeon. So, no, that's what he's saying planned also. I'm not talking about emergency at all. I'm talking... No, emergency we are on the same ground. I have said that my first sentence was if it is life threatening, anybody can do it. Anybody.
Dr. Balva, we accept, but when we say emergency, we mean emergency means emergent to the life of the patient. What can be emergent? मुझे आज बाहर, I have a 7 o'clock flight to catch, आप baby जल्दी deliver कर. That's not an emergency. We're talking about medical emergency, which obviously is life-threatening, sir. I think we all are on the same page. I think we are both on the same page, so that's fine. Can we hear the gentleman from Rohtak, please?
You see what Dr. Anil is saying about, in fact, head injury 90% is a medical management. Therefore, I fail to understand the basic principles remain same. So looking at it, what one of our friends said, listen to me, we do a critical care, we know 90% time the neurosurgeons do nothing. Except when they come, they simply remove half of the skull. So let's look at it what it is. Basic principles of ABC remains and need to be followed, and we are basic doctors. And that is what we are all talking about.
Absolutely.
Therefore, we can't absolve ourselves or not provide the care, stabilize and then send them or get in touch with it. I think that, sir, my problem is different one now. With a lot of the MCA has now come up with the MD emergency medicine courses which are coming up, but unfortunately, in a government hospital, what we are looking entirely is let's say at my place in 24 hours, we are having more than 1,000 cases a day on an average. Last year average at my institution was 750. This year during last 1 to 2 weeks period because of dengue epidemic, we have more than 1,000. Now we are being liable by everybody that we are providing deficient services. Now there is a capacity of a system to develop. Now how to deal with it, law should have some provisions or protections, because if there is a capacity, and that is where most of the time the doctors are put into it, but very well said that emergency is a multidisciplinary thing. So things needs to be decided, divided, and the law must take in it that when it gets over and we get into a disaster-like situation, what to do and how to handle it.
I think these all are elements. We are all talking, sir, about elements that must form part of the act. We are all talking about, in most government hospitals, every day is like a disaster management exercise. You walk into KEM hospital today, right now, on a Sunday, you will find at least 80 to 90 patients waiting for the emergency medicine, which again is seen by PSM, then goes to medicine, goes to surgery. This is the case in all major institutions, Delhi ho ya Rohtak ho ya Mumbai ho.
But we need to have the...
Agreed. So what we're trying to look at is, we are trying to look at a framework within the law. We're trying, sir, through this 45-minute session, trying to look at a framework within the law which satisfies the clinical needs of the patient, satisfies the financial and psychosocial needs of the doctors and the hospitals, and at the same time provides a legal framework so that people are mandated.
And sir, the only one thing I don't know it was discussed, is regarding paramedicals. They need to be involved in it, because gradually over a period of time, this is going to become it.
That's
so
another good
paramedics.
thought. I like the motor vehicle thought. The paramedics is something very critical. In provision of emergency services, reimbursement needs to be looked at. These are all things that need to be looked at. Yes, sir.
1 second.
Being a doctor is a noble profession, and when you are on a highway, in the accident you see, being a doctor, having all knowledge, because of the lack of equipment, you cannot help it. So what I suggest, every doctor should carry one CPR bag in that dicky, so that in case of an emergency, if they are capable of helping that person.
Dr. Rana, can you please stand up for a minute? Please applaud this gentleman who started quality healthcare in the country. National Accreditation Board of Hospitals, Deputy Director now, I believe. Joint Director, sorry sir, my apologies. No, Dr. Rana, sir, the point which you have noted is very good, but if you ever meet this gentleman, he will talk to you about the checks and balances, whether you validated the expiry dates of medication in the dicky. He'll talk to you about storage conditions of those medications, the efficacy of that medication. There are 1,000 other Pandora boxes that open up with all these things that you're saying, sir. You would naturally keep adrenaline, atropine, something, or just what would you keep?
So, you want me to say?
I want to qualify that
comment. You already qualified that.
So I would actually ask Dr. Srinath Kumar.
Yes,
sir, how would you think that would this be a practical thing? Because sir, once it goes into law, you will mandate every doctor, me as an administrator, if I need Dr. Utturi's body MMC to certify me, my Maharashtra Medical Council, they will first say, kit dakhwa, certificate gya. Barabar, sir? So your suggestion is intelligent, but we also need to understand feasibility. Yeah. Again, if we leave it to SEMI to decide the contents of that kit, each one of us will be out of pocket of at least 10,000 rupees.
Yes. Actually, we have designed one.
There you go.
It comes to 15 to 20,000 rupees if you carry. 15 to 20,000 rupees. A small oxygen cylinder with starting with oxygen cylinder till the fluid.
Sir, the problem with the oxygen cylinder is, again, I would need a explosives license under which I'm supposed to carry that cylinder. There are many problems. Let's end that here, but define it to say that medics and paramedics cannot provide emergent services unless they are equipped with the basics that are required to do so. How those are to be provided in remote locations like highways, etc., is something that the law will have to look into and provide. It has to be looked into and provided. Sir, over here, please. Can we have the question?
I'm a surgeon. I have a suggestion that most MBBS doctors may not be able to even intubate a patient. So we have a rule that the MMC needs the credit points, at least 6 points per year. So maybe we could have a rule that all MBBS doctors should attend or should have certified basic life support course once in 5 years. Because
BLS,
I don't know whether
BLS
that
will
will
not teach you to intubate, sir.
ATLS, BLS is a trauma emergency. Yeah. ACLS or
ACLS for all MBBS. Sir, ACLS requirement is once in 2 years.
Sir, this comes under the purview. We come from the medical college, so we teach our undergraduates and we see to it, like Maulana Azad Medical College in Delhi, our college at Rohtak, and a couple of more colleges now have made it mandate interns to do it. ACLS, the problem is that you have to cough out now today 8,000 rupees. Therefore, it becomes a problem. So what we have started doing is that we have made our own BLS, and at the same time, we have modified it in teaching and training. So certification will be at the level of the medical colleges. So, and then subsequently...
So I have another question to ask. Since we are discussing emergency services in the country, why are we still dependent on a body called the American Heart Association for our basic life support services and our advanced cardiac life support services? Can we not, under the aegis of the IACCM, configure something like this? AHPI, I'm sure Dr. Thomas would be willing to support financially also to create such a curriculum. That would be a long way in creating emergency services within the country, because then paramedics would also go in for this.
Now, on behalf of ISCCM, I can say, so Dr. Mani is also sitting here. We will take this to our executive, we will talk about it, but end of the day, we are doing it in all the workshops, etc., but we need to make our own curriculum, which probably that's what you're suggesting, so that that thing is taken
Would be care. Nice, sir, because then NABH can also look to
We will take it to the ISCCM, absolutely no problem.
And we would work out with the HPI and with NABH, we would work out the business model. It would be good.
In fact, sir, my submission is that all of you can do it, like at our University of Health Sciences in Haryana, Rohtak. We have now made it mandatory for all nurses, all doctors, and all dental surgeons, whatever it is there. Even now, the Vice Chancellor last week only said make it for pharmacy and other people also, so that they're all trained in it. So we have already done it, said you can do it at a local level. Okay. So at the national level may take a little longer time.
Okay, sir, with due respect, I really want to adhere to the timeline, and I'm going to cut short all further discussion on this. And please differ with me openly in case I do not sum up. Dr. Antani, I'll come back to you later. I think what we all agree upon is that there is a need for a legislation, either as part of a standalone legislation or as a fortification of the current existing Clinical Establishment Act that needs to get discussed. The second thing that is required is essentially that... Yes, I'm just coming to that. I'm coming to that. Okay, so it's a comprehensive legislation which looks at infrastructural requirements, training and development requirements, looks at availability of emergency care, looks at the basic metrics of emergency care, looks at the availability of emergency care throughout the span of the country, and also is supported by the educational needs through the various educational programs that we had. You've been recorded, sir. I will not repeat that. I accept that. I accept that, sir. Okay, so I think we've kind of said it all, and we will take two last comments. Milind, you would like to go first? We'll come back to you, sir, last, and that's the last comment.
Just one point. If you are looking at content of the Act of Emergency Medicine, a lot of attention should be paid on the penalty clause. It should not be linked to CRPC.
Okay, we heard that.
That's correct. I want to comment upon my observation.
on a particular aspect which is often neglected, since we see it routinely, the ambulance, the ferried critically ill patients. We find that some paramedics sometimes, some junior doctors sometimes bring these patients. They are most of the time overworked, stressed. They lack certain acumen, clinical acumen. There is nothing to regulate their quality or to allow them to de-stress. And ambulance and a lot of time mishaps occur during the transport.
Agreed, sir. I think sir said it all. The word comprehensive is absolutely all-encompassing, and I think we will end it at that. We are running exactly 3 minutes late, which is pretty decent by Indian times. Thank you very much for this very exciting deliberation. I would also request, with the permission of the House, I would also request the Society for Emergency Medicine in India to help the National Convention of Medicine and Law and the Indian Institute of Medicine and Law to help to draft the actual wording so that whatever is required gets covered and becomes truly comprehensive as suggested by the Honorable Sir. Right? So with that, thank you very much, gentlemen. Really appreciate. And I'm going to hand over to the MC and take a small